Hey, everybody, welcome back. We're a little bit early for those of you that are joining me live because I'm going to be giving away some cash prizes and maybe a t-shirt or two before the live that's going to start right at noon in about 10 minutes. Okay. So for those of you that are joining me early, okay, if you got the memo to join me early, you'll have an opportunity here live to win some prizes. Okay. So we're going to go over that. But today, the training that we're going to go over after the giveaway is how I was able to turn a $25 investment into over $100,000 in profit for my freight brokerage. And I did all that without investing in any crazy stocks or cryptocurrency or NFTs or gold or silver or any of that. Okay. So this is a super simple strategy that I used, very effective. And I'm going to go through this process. I'm actually going to share the story. And then at the end, I'm going to share some lessons with you that I think you should take away from this to apply to your business. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about. But before we get into that, we're going to wait for some people to get live. Hit me up in the chat box really quick and let me know you're live. Give me the city and state you're logging in from. I do want to know where you guys are coming in from, but I do want to do these giveaways. We got to get some people live before we can do the giveaway. And then we'll do that. We'll do the training. And then at the very end, if you guys stick around to the end, we're going to do live Q&A as always. Okay. All right, cool. So we got a bunch of people joining us live from all over the place. Awesome. All right, cool. So we've got people from Florida, Texas, Ontario, Kentucky, Georgia, Florida. Geez, everybody all over the place. Colorado, love it. Daytona, Florida, love it. Perfect. For those of you that don't know, maybe this is your first time joining the stream or you haven't been on in a while. My name is Dennis Brown. Been an entrepreneur for over 25 years, been very blessed, did over $200 million as a freight brokerage, sold my company back in 2016, but I'm also the owner of freightbrokerbootcamp.com, which is the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker and freight agent training program available. You can check out all the details at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Again, we trained over 10,000 students. We offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. So, all right, so we got a bunch of people live. So here's what we got to do, guys. For those of you that don't know, all right, for those of you that don't know, a few weeks ago, I launched the Freight Broker Bootcamp Audio Experience podcast. This is an audio-only format. It's a free podcast, whether you're a student or you're just part of the community or you're new or you're old, doesn't matter. So this is all my best of my best content as it relates to becoming and growing a successful freight brokerage. So today, if you want a chance to win $50, for those of you that are not already subscribed, okay, I'll give the subscribers a chance to win too. But for those of you that are not yet subscribed and are iPhone users or listen on Apple Podcasts, particularly if you're an iPhone user, here's all you have to do. Lean in and pay close attention because you got to do it right now. Grab your phone, okay? Grab your phone and find the podcast app. If you can't find it, search for it, okay? And then go to the podcast app and do the term freight broker, and you'll see my shiny bald head as usual, and Freight Broker Bootcamp audio experience pop up. All you have to do is subscribe to the podcast, okay? Subscribe to the podcast and do a quick rating, like 1 to 5 type rating. And if you want to write a review, great. Write a quick review. That would be awesome. Maybe some of you have listened to some of the episodes. Maybe some of you are just hearing about this for the first time. And then come back in here and type in the chat box, Apple subscribed. And then if you rated or reviewed it, come back in. I'm going to give away $50 right now to one person that does that in the next couple of minutes. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing for people that are on Android. So if you're on Android, we're going to use Spotify for this. So if you want to get ahead, but I will explain it again. So Apple users, iPhone users, go in, search for the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and I'm going to, subscribe, rate, and review, and I'm going to give away $50. Okay. All right. So do that really quick and then come back in here and let me know. And again, if you've already subscribed to the podcast, I'm going to give you previously, because you're a listener, I'm going to give you something different than you can do to win. Okay. But this is for new subscribers. Okay. All right. So we got a few people subscribing. All right, cool. All right. So for those of you that are joining me late, if you want a chance to win 50 bucks, open up your iPhone, go to the podcast app and search for Freight Broker Bootcamp. You're going to find my new podcast called the Freight Broker Bootcamp Audio Experience. You go in there, subscribe or follow, subscribe to the podcast, and then rate and review, and then come back in here, type in the comments, Apple subscribed, and if you rated and reviewed, let me know. That would be great. And I'm going to pick one winner. I'm going to pick one winner that is going to win 50 bucks. Okay? All right, so we're going to give it one more minute. We still have a few minutes before we are going to, yeah, good. So we got 5 minutes before we're going to go into the training, okay? All right. Who else? Last chance for people on Apple. Last chance for Apple people to subscribe to the podcast. Come on, let's get a few more people to subscribe. Go into your phone. And again, this is where I put the best of the best freight broker training content that I have. Things that are 5-10 years old that are still super popular on YouTube that you may not have even heard of. New trainings, webinars, interviews, Q&As, all kinds of stuff. So I put all kinds of information, all kinds of content in here, and it's audio only. The cool part about it is with the podcast, you can listen to it when you're driving. You can listen to it when you're working out on the treadmill, when you're walking the dog. I listen to podcasts when I'm hunting, right? I put my earbuds in and I'm listening to podcasts because, when you're hunting, there's a lot of downtime. And so, yeah, it's a great way to kind of passively listen, but still absorb some of my best content. Okay. All right, cool. So here we go. I am going to pick a winner. I'm going to randomly scroll up through here and I'm going to pick a winner. We do this very unscientifically, but it's the easiest way to do it. And the winner of the 50 bucks for the Apple podcast is Monisha Fezla. Monisha Fezla. Okay. So Monisha, here's all you have to do to claim your prize. Go to the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page and message me. So you go on Facebook, search Freight Broker Bootcamp. You'll find the Facebook page, not the group, the page. And then message me and let me know you won the Apple Podcast subscribe contest for 50 bucks. And then I just need your PayPal email so that I can PayPal you that money in the next day or two. Okay. So that's all you have to do in order to win. Okay. So that you've already won, but I do need a message from you letting me know that you won it and your PayPal email, and I'll send you the 50 bucks. All right, cool. So for those of you that are on Android, okay, or don't have access to Apple Podcast, here's all you got to do. Most of you, a lot of you probably listen to Spotify. Okay. Spotify is a very popular, streaming channel for music, but they also have podcasts. So all you have to do is open your Spotify. Okay. Open your Spotify, search Freight Broker Bootcamp, and you'll see the Freight Broker Bootcamp podcast pop up. Do the exact same thing. Subscribe, follow the podcast. They don't give you the ability to rate and review because Spotify is a bunch of morons. I don't know why they don't give you that ability, but ultimately, yeah, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and come back in here and let me know that you subscribe, but you got to say Spotify subscribe. Now you could do the exact same thing on Google Podcast. So I'll make this either Spotify or Google, right? So Google Podcast, you can go right online, or if you've got it on your phone, if you're an Android user, it depends on where you guys listen to podcasts or music, but you can do it on Spotify or Google, but then come back into the comments and type Google subscribed or Spotify subscribed, whatever. Let me know where you subscribed. And then I'm going to give away 50 bucks, another 50 bucks to somebody. Okay. This is super simple. Can't make it much easier. Just want to have a little bit of fun. Obviously, I want you guys to check out the podcast. I want you to rate and review the podcast. I want you to share the podcast. I'd love to have you guys do that. That would be fantastic. But ultimately, this is a start. Okay. So, Joanne, if you're saying you're done, make sure you tell me you're done where you subscribed, Google or Spotify. And this is an honor system, guys. I'm counting on you to just be honorable of where you subscribed and that you actually did subscribe or follow the podcast. And you got to let me know where you subscribed, Apple, Spotify. If you don't let me know that, I can't help you because you may have meant that you did it for the, let me know Apple, Spotify, or Google. Okay. So just type in the comments where you actually subscribed. Okay, cool. All right. So we got maybe about another minute for everybody to just try to get to subscribe. And again, if you're on Apple, rate and review the podcast. That would be great. I'd greatly appreciate it. It'll push us up in the rankings so that other people can follow and find the podcast. But yeah, I decided to do this after several years of sitting on my hands and not doing it. And the feedback has been amazing. You can read the reviews yourself. We've got like a 4.9 out of 5 rating so far, out of 1 to 5, meaning 5 being the best. So yeah, cool. All right, cool. So we got some Spotify subscribers. You got about 15 seconds to subscribe for Spotify or Google, and then I'm going to give away the $50. And then we're going to jump into the live training. Okay. I know that you guys are chomping at the bit today. Just for everybody who's joining us late, I'm going to talk about how I was able to turn $25 investment into over $100,000 in freight broker profits for my business. Okay. Without investing in cryptocurrency, without investing in any crazy stocks or Ponzi schemes. Okay. This is super simple, but highly effective. And I'm going to tell you the story of how it worked for me. And then at the end, I'm going to give you some takeaways, and then we're going to do Q&A after the training. Okay. All right, cool. So we got some Spotify subscribers. We got some Google subscribers. All right, cool. All right. All right. I'm scrolling through, and I'm going to randomly pick one person, and the winner of the Spotify Google subscription is Sedgeball. Look at your name. It's got a picture of a wolf there. Sedgeball, if you're live here, which I hope you are, you got to go to the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page and message me. Send me a message letting me know that you won $50 as the Spotify subscribe contest. Okay. And you also have to include your PayPal email. I'll PayPal you the $50. Okay. So that's $100 for today. All right, cool. So any of the others of you that want a chance to win on Apple has a unique situation, or even on any of the other ones. All you have to do is share the podcast on social, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it on Pinterest. I don't care where you share it somewhere on social. And then later you can come back in here and type #shared podcast. And I will do another giveaway where I'll reach out to a winner and I'll give away another $50. Okay. But we'll do that after the training. We're not going to do it live because I got to dive into the training now. So if you want a chance to win $50, share the podcast somewhere on social. That means you got to go into the app and click the little 3 buttons and hit share, and then share it on social somewhere. Share your favorite episode. Just share the podcast itself. Let other people know about it. And I'm going to give away an extra $50 probably later today or tomorrow once I come back in and check. But you got to type #shared podcast. That way I can easily find them, and then I can find a winner. Okay. All right. So for those of you that joined me early to win some cash and prizes, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. Congrats to all the winners. And I'm going to do this more often, where I log on early, a few minutes early, and start doing these giveaways. That allows us to start the training on time. And without further ado, it is 12:01. So I am going to start the training. So who here is ready for me to start the training? Because today I'm going to talk about a very simple strategy that I used to turn a $25 investment into over $100,000 in profit for my freight brokerage. Now, I know it may seem hard to believe, but I promise you, there's no cryptocurrency. There's nothing shady. This is totally 100% legit. And it worked for me not only once, but it worked for me time and time and time again. I was able to repeat this many, many times over the course of my career. And if you apply this strategy, I think you'll see some great results. Okay. All right. So if you guys are ready, let me know the city and state you're logging in from, and then we will dive into the training. And as always, we're going to do live Q&A at the end. All right. All right. So where we got somebody from Goa, India. I have a feeling that might be my friend Yogi, or somebody that works with him. We've got a bunch of people logging in we got California, we got Washington, holy cow, we got people from all over. By the way, the stream itself, I've been having some difficulties technologically. How is the audio and video quality? Is it buffering, or is there a lag or anything like that? Let me know 1 to 10 if the quality of the video, 10 being good, 1 being bad, okay, or being really bad. Give me a heads up, because I've been struggling with some quality issues on these live streams, and I want to make sure that I'm able to take these and repurpose them on YouTube and add them into different training programs and just make sure you guys have access after these lives. Okay. So, okay, good. So we've got 8, which is good. Okay. So if we got people loud and clear, good. Okay. Cora says she's lagging. That may be a bandwidth issue on your end, or it could be mine, but I have been experiencing a little bit of an issue. After I finish these trainings, I download the recordings and there's a lag during the recording, which tells me that's on the technology side. Okay. All right. So most people are getting a good feed. Okay. So good. So here we go, guys. Today, I'm going to dive into the training. Today, I'm going to share with you how I was able to turn a $25 investment into over $100,000 in pure profit for my freight brokerage. And I'm going to tell you, it's not doing anything crazy. I didn't have to invest in cryptocurrency. I didn't have to invest in gold and silver, although I do invest in gold and silver. I didn't have to invest in any crazy stocks or Ponzi schemes. This process was actually really simple, but it took me a long time to figure it out, probably because it was so simple and it was right at the end of my nose and I just wasn't paying attention. So let me explain to you the process. I had acquired a new client and we had been doing business with them for several months, a new shipper. But the problem was we were only doing very small volume with them. We were doing like on average, maybe 3 or 4 loads a month. And it was very frustrating. Even though I was happy to do business with the client, I knew they had a lot more freight and there was a lot more opportunity there. But no matter what I did, I couldn't get past 3 or 4 loads a month. My goal was to get to 10 or 20 loads and have that be a pretty consistent, good, solid client. And unfortunately, after months of trying, I just couldn't get there. I did everything. I tried everything. I built the relationship. I focused on the relationship with the shipper. I submitted quotes. I did everything I knew to try to grow that business, and it just wasn't growing. And so, I couldn't get them to open up. And one day I came up with an idea, and it was such a simple idea, and it was seeded by a conversation I had with the shipper. I was talking to the shipper, and I remembered him talking about how him and his team would go out. They had a small group of people working on the shipping dock. They would either order pizza or they would go to a restaurant for lunch sometimes and get pizza. Now, a lot of times they order in because they're busy guys, but once in a while they'd be able to go out. But they had mentioned the restaurant name that was their favorite pizza joint. And so I had kind of mentally cataloged that. And my idea was, I wonder what would happen if I bought them lunch. If all I did was order a couple of pizzas and have it delivered to the office, have it delivered to the dock, have it delivered to the warehouse where my contact was working out of, the shipping manager. And so I found the pizza joint. I ordered the pizza. It was all scheduled to deliver the next day. I was really excited and curious of what was going to happen. So I had the pizza delivered. There was no note. There was no nothing. The pizza just showed up. And the pizza delivery guy said, "Hey, I got 2 pizzas for you. They're all paid for." And they took the pizzas. They obviously ate the pizzas. And I didn't say anything that day. But the next morning, I sent him an email. First thing in the morning, I sent him an email and I said, "Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the pizza." That was it. Cheers, Dennis. And within minutes, my phone rang. Within minutes. I mean, it couldn't have been more than 2 or 3 minutes. Now, I don't know if he was sitting on his email, checking his email, or if he got email on his phone or what was going on, but he immediately called me and we didn't do a lot of talking on the phone. Most of what this guy did was through email. So he calls me on the phone and he starts thanking me. First, he was laughing, then he was thanking me. And he's like, "I wondered who these were from." And he was beyond appreciative of the fact that I took the time and had cared enough about the relationship that I was willing to invest $25 into a couple of pizzas. And so from there, the relationship really budded. And literally within a week, we went from doing 3 to 4 loads a month to doing 3 to 4 loads a week. So that was the next step. We started doing 3 or 4 loads a week. So we basically quadrupled our business within 30 days after investing that little bit of money into that relationship. But ultimately, within a few months, I I don't know the exact timeline, but definitely within 6 months, I had converted that account from 3 to 4 loads a month into over 10,000 a month in profit. Okay. So we were probably doing somewhere in the range of 30 to 40 loads a month at that point. We were generating over 10,000 a month in profit for the freight brokerage. And it all stemmed from that small idea, from that small investment, from the time I took to be different and to think about things a little bit differently than everybody else. Okay. So that's how I was able to turn a $25 investment in a lunch into some pizza into over $100,000 in profit. Now we made well over $100,000 in profit, but it was just easy to say 100,000 plus. I don't know the exact numbers, but we had that client for many, many years. And so ultimately, there's 3 things I want you to take away from this. This is the important part. I want you to take away 3 lessons. The story's great and good for me. Pat me on the back. We made some money. But what I want you to do is I want you to apply these same sorts of strategies and ideas and thoughts to your business. And there's 3 takeaways. Number 1, be different. You have to figure out a way to be different. You've heard me say this before. I did not coin this phrase, but different is better than better. And so rather than trying to be better at everything, I figured out a way to be a little different. And my prospect told me on the phone that day that nobody had ever delivered pizza to their office. Nobody had ever delivered pizza to their office, had ever bought them lunch. No one had ever taken the time to do that. So that's an example of being different. I didn't have to be cheaper. I didn't even have to have better service. I just had to be more thoughtful. And that was the difference. So different is better than better. You have to be different. That's number 1. Number 2 is be willing to try and test new things, new ideas. Don't be afraid to fail, right? Some of your ideas are going to fall flat on their face, and that's okay. But be willing to test and try new ideas. It's very important that you come up with new ideas, be curious enough to implement those ideas, and be willing to fail enough that some of those are going to fail. Fact of the matter is, most of your ideas are going to fail. Probably 7 out of 10 or more are going to fail. But when you find one idea, like I came up with that very simple idea of delivering lunch to an account that I was struggling to grow, all of a sudden that made all the difference, right? So be willing to test and try new ideas. And number 4, this is the most important part. And this is where a lot of freight brokers completely blow my mind and miss the boat. You have to be willing to reinvest some of your profits back into your business. And this is an example of reinvesting the profits. Actually, the $25 I invested on pizza didn't cost me anything because it came out of the profits that they were generating already. Now, if they weren't generating any profits, it would still have been a great investment. But the point is you have to be willing to reinvest profits back into your business if you're serious about growing. But here's the problem. Most brokers and most agents, they get the commission check, they get the profit, they count the profits, and then what do? They stick it right in the hip national bank, right? They stick all that in their pocket, and they don't leave any money to reinvest into the business. Now, this was an example of how to reinvest a small amount of capital into an idea that allowed me to grow and retain a shipper, right? I was able to retain and grow that account from 3 or 4 loads a month to over 10,000 a month in profit from a $25 investment. Imagine if you did that with all of your clients and you reinvested not just $25 one time, but maybe you reinvested $25 every couple weeks or every month on buying that office or buying that, dock lunch. Okay. It's very simple. Sometimes the way to a person's heart is through their stomach, and it worked for me. And I think it'll work for you. So those are my 3 takeaways. That's my story, how I was able to turn $25 into over 6 figures in profit. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, and you're curious about becoming a freight broker, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We're by far the most cost-effective and comprehensive online freight broker training program available online today. Been in business over a decade, have trained over 10,000 students. I have personally done over $200 million as a freight broker, and we offer a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. It's unconditional. If for any reason you're not happy in the first 60 days, just hit us up. We'll refund your money, no questions asked. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Listen, we're going to jump into some Q&A. We're going to jump into some Q&A. Give me 1 second. And I am going to, while I'm grabbing a drink, let me know before you type any questions. Let me know in the training what you thought, 1 to 10. Give me a rating on the value, the quality of this training and this idea that I shared with you, 1 to 10. Hold your questions for now because I want to get those ratings, and then I'm going to jump into some Q&A. I'll give you an opportunity to type your questions in, and we'll do some Q&A. Need a little bit of water here. All right. Cool. And listen, be honest, guys. If this was a waste of your time, I have no problem. I just want to get feedback. I don't need you to placate my ego. I want feedback to know what types of ideas you guys are interested in and if these live trainings are valuable. If they're not, and if you really like this and you thought it was great, share the stream. Make sure you click the like button. I don't care if you're on YouTube or on Facebook or where you're watching this. Please click the like button first and then share the stream. Click the share button and share the stream. That's basically the price of admission, okay, is for you to like and share the stream. I don't charge you to be a part of this live, okay? There was no paywall. You didn't have to take out your credit card. I do these every week for free, okay? But the thing is that if engagement goes down and people aren't engaging and there's not a lot of likes and comments and shares, I'm probably going to stop doing them and start investing this time in something else. I think these are valuable for you guys, but the only way I can tell if they're valuable is through the engagement and the feedback you give me. So share, like, comment, and share the stream. Most importantly, let's see if we can make this video the most shared video out of all of my lives. Okay. Now that might be hard, but because I do have some lives that have been shared a lot of times and have had a lot of views, but if you guys appreciate these weekly trainings, or you thought this training was right on the mark and you really gathered some insight from it, share the stream. Let me know. Let me know by sharing, because I can actually see who shared the stream and where you shared it. So that would be fantastic. Appreciate it. And let me know that you did share it. If you did, that's awesome. For those of you that checked out the Freight Broker Bootcamp podcast, thank you so much. Go there on Apple, Spotify, Google, subscribe. I put out 2 new episodes every single week. Okay, 2 new episodes every single week. Now, these are some of the best trainings, some of the most recent trainings, some of the older ones, some of the ones that are part of webinars or YouTube videos or different courses I've put together or trainings. And so I think you guys will really enjoy it. Check out and subscribe to the podcast as well. All right. Cool. All right. So you guys are liking it. All right, good. It's a simple idea, right? Very simple idea, but sometimes some of the best ideas are the simplest idea, but you have to be intentional, right? I tell everybody, focus on relationships over transactions. This is just a way to market and sell your business. Relationships over transactions. Now, I was trying to grow the business, but the traditional way of trying to grow it by doing more quotes and the squeaky wheel gets the grease and communicating more, that wasn't working to grow that account. But then all of a sudden I said, let's be a little bit different. Let's reinvest some of that money in it with no expectation of a return. Let's just make their day and order a couple of pizzas for their office. And I did. And ultimately that turned into an amazing return on investment, as I explained to you. And I hope you guys are able to replicate something similar for your business. So, all right, let's jump into some Q&A. So what do we got for questions? All right, so hit me up with questions. UCR, okay, so here, Lakita, UCR stands for Unified Carrier Registration. Back in the old days, UCRs were not required for brokers. They are now. So you have to have a UCR. So you have to file your UCR to be a broker. It's an annual filing. I don't even know how much it is. It might be 50 or 60 bucks a year or something. It's negligible. But in order to be a broker in good standings, you do need to file your UCR, which stands for Unified Carrier Registration. All right. Jasmine has a question. May you please explain regarding the cold calling? What does it mean people don't pay benefits? you can name any of them if you have on your mind in specific. Okay, so I'm not sure what your question is, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a framework on cold calling that will help you to be more successful for cold calling. Number one, be different. If you sound like every other salesperson out there, you're going to get the same results. You're going to get the Heisman, you're going to get the hang up. That's just the way it is. If you sound like everybody else, you have to come up with a sales hook. Okay? You have to come up with a sales hook. And the hook is usually designed around something that's very relevant to your prospect. So that can be a pain point. That can be something that's going on inside their industry. That can be something that they're experiencing. That can be an interesting and compelling piece of sales intelligence, but you have to come up with a sales hook, because the hardest part about cold calling is getting their attention. It's the first 5 to 15 seconds of that call, because they're making a first impression of you, whether you want them to or not. So be different, create a compelling sales hook. And that's going to usually buy you, after the first 15 seconds, now you're going to get 1 or 2 more minutes to dive into that and show how you're different and differentiate yourself. Okay. So I hope that helps. I mean, for those of you that are curious about cold calling or freight broker sales or getting clients as a freight broker, this is a good time to share it. In November, I'm going to be opening up my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Okay. My Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, which is my online training program where I take, let me see here. Okay. Where I take this piece of my brain and I share it with you about my entire freight broker sales process, right? Not only do I teach how to create sales hooks and follow-up sequences and overcoming objections and multi-touch point outreach strategies and customer development and retention, I teach the entire process, okay, of how to get and grow clients and build a 7-figure freight brokerage. I'm going to be opening that up, but it's going to be very limited. So if you want a chance to get enrolled in that, it's not a free program. It's a pay program. It's separate from Freight Broker Bootcamp. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. You got to get on the wait list. I've sold this out 2 times in a row. When I open this up, there's a very good chance it's going to sell out in less than 24 hours. I'm probably going to limit it to 100 people like I did last time. So it's going to sell out right away, just so you guys know. So if you're not on the wait list, the chances are you're never going to even hear about this or get a chance to enroll. So you got to get on the wait list. But if you're curious about winning freight broker sales strategies, tactics, and proven systems, this is where I'm going to teach that entire process. Okay. It's not cheap. It's definitely not free, but it's worth 10x whatever you invest in it. I assure you that the feedback we've gotten from past cohorts and people that have went through the course, I did a survey and I had them rate the course, the quality of the course from 0 to 10. And the average rating across all of the students that took it was a 9.7, which is insane. I would have been happy with an 8. Okay. I thought I would have been killing it with an 8, but we got a 9.7 out of all the people that we surveyed for that. So if you guys are curious about that, get on the wait list, because you're definitely going to be need to be on the wait list if you want a chance to get enrolled in the next cohort, which I'm going to be launching in November. Okay. All right, cool. So let's go grab a few more questions here. Boom, 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 boom. All right. All right, cool. Thank you for the feedback, guys. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the training. Okay, I'm scrolling. Give me a minute. I'm trying to find a question. Okay, so Arad asks, what advice would you give to a beginner? Okay, so let's call you a complete and utter novice, which is exactly where I was when I first started, okay? Most of the people on this stream right now know more about being a freight broker or a freight agent than I did when I first got started. And I promise you, we did over $1 million our first year in sales, and then 3 million, then 6 million, then 12 million. And eventually, the year that I sold the company, we did over $80 million in sales. Okay. So if I can do it, I know you can do it, first of all. Secondly, the information for pre-beginners, okay, for a novice like I was. My advice to you is find somebody that you want to emulate and then get trained. I don't care if it's Freight Broker Bootcamp. I don't care if it's another program. Just make sure you vet them and that they've actually done what you're looking to do, right? There's a lot of people out there that have these freight broker training programs that have never built a real brokerage, or they've only built a tiny brokerage. They've got a few customers, and all of a sudden now they want to jump into the freight broker training game. I don't begrudge anybody how they make their money. I really don't care. But make sure you vet that person and get trained. Find somebody that you can emulate or get mentored from afar, right? I'm not taking any coaching or consulting clients right now, but I do have my Freight Broker Bootcamp products. I do have my no cold calling products, and I do have my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, which are all online courses. Okay. Now the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator goes beyond that, because that actually is a coaching program where I coach you through for 5 weeks, that entire process. But it's really geared specifically towards freight broker sales. So it would be a good investment. But if you're a pre-beginner, I think you're going to want to start at the beginning with kind of an introductory course, more like Freight Broker Bootcamp, either the gold or platinum membership. So that would be my advice. Find somebody there. And then after that, you need to invest in sales skills, sales training, because sales is a part of this business. If there's any of you that are here live that think you're going to build a brokerage by going to a load board and trying to rebroker some load to another broker or another carrier, that shit don't work. It's a waste of time. Don't waste your time. Okay. You are going to have to learn how to sell. And I teach an entire multi-touch point outreach strategy, including email and phone and social and face-to-face and direct mail. I teach this entire process of how to have that system for breaking through, developing that relationship, overcoming their objections, creating a compelling sales hook, and then ultimately landing those clients and converting them into 6 or 7 figure clients. So I hope that helps. That should be some good starting advice for you. Epiphany, I think I just answered that question simultaneously. So I hope it helps. Many of the students that have become successful through Freight Broker Bootcamp had no experiences in freight brokerage before that, including mine. So you absolutely can, but you need to get trained. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you again for the feedback. I really appreciate the feedback on today's training. I thought you guys might like that story. It's an amazing story that I'm very blessed to be able to tell. I could probably tell you dozens of others where I replicated that exact same process over and over again, but the first one always stands out. All right, let me grab some question here. Okay, so here's what I would suggest, Segball. Question is, other than having a great credit rating, what advice do you have given the current climate in the industry of selling, getting carriers to accept and take your loads? Okay, so what carriers are looking for is, number one, the length of time in business, credit, how quickly you pay, do you offer fuel advances or quick pays, those sorts of things. You need to cater to the carriers. The more you're able to, the fact is the faster you pay carriers and are willing to pay carriers, the more likely they are to do business with you. That there's a direct proportion. Okay. If you're looking for strategies on how to build credit as a freight broker, as a startup freight broker, go to my YouTube channel and you'll find a training. I think it's titled Build Credit Fast, where I interview Elio Longoria, which is a student of Freight Broker Bootcamp and had a startup freight brokerage this year, and actually ended up growing that business very, very quickly. Did over $7,000 in profit his first week in the business. And he talks about how he was able to build credit and get carriers to do business with him quickly. So go to the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and click the bell, but then look in there and you'll see Build Credit Fast. And that's an interview I did with Elio where he walks through the exact process, the exact step-by-step process that he used. And it's it's an awesome training, very valuable. So I would recommend you check that out as well. Okay. Hey, from the Bahamas. I love it. Nice. Welcome from the Bahamas. Josh Playlist Paul. Awesome. Welcome from the Bahamas. I wish I was in the Bahamas right now. It's raining and snowing right now, although it is hunting season. So I'm pretty committed here to this bad weather, even though it is hunting season. Okay, so Derek asks, hi, Dennis. He's a Freight Broker Bootcamp member, which means he's a paid member of my training, and a Sales Accelerator member. Now receive the DOT number, got an agent, now about to get surety bond, next move to get load board and grab some customers. Yeah, you have to get your authority active. Okay, so the FMCSA, you got to follow the steps to get your authority deemed active through the FMCSA. As soon as you get your authority active, you have the legal right to broker loads that day. So you could actually broker a load that day. Now, in most cases, most brokers and agents are going to wait for that authority to get active before they start doing outreach and marketing for the business, where they start doing sales. Because what if a shipper asks you to move a load and you don't even have your authority yet, or they ask for some validation, or they search you up and they realize you don't have your broker authority. It's going to undermine your credibility. So yeah, once that freight broker authority is deemed active by the FMCSA, you'll get an email or a letter or both. Then you can start brokering loads that day. From there, if I'm assuming that you've already found your niche, which would be one of your first steps, and then start doing outreach to those shippers in that niche, whether that be you doing the outreach yourself, which is what I would strongly recommend, you selling and doing the outreach and learning the sales process and learning how to quote and learning how to support the shippers. And then if you choose to bring on an agent later, then feel free. That would be completely up to you. But yeah, you're going to start doing outreach at that point. So I hope that helps. Okay, so Chinoy has a question. After taking boot camp, does one need to work for a freight brokerage company before establishing one? Absolutely not. You do not need to work for a freight broker. You do not need to be an intern. You do not have to have a W-2 job. You don't have to be a freight agent. You have the ability, once you get your freight broker authority, to immediately start brokering loads. Now, that's assuming that you understand the process and the complexity and the steps for doing that. And that's part of what the training program goes over, right? Not only getting the authority, but the entire process of setting up and growing your business into a profitable freight brokerage or freight agency, okay? So no, you do not need to work for a freight brokerage before you can become a freight agent or a licensed freight broker. Hope that helps. What's the time here? Okay. All right. Okay, so here's a question. Tatiana asks, when you're ready to start getting customers and my niche is refrigerated and dry loads, is there a strategy you recommend? Well, Tatiana, if you have your authority active or you're already an agent for a brokerage and you've defined your niche, defining your niche goes beyond just declaring it. So you've got to do some research on some carriers and rates. You got to be on the load boards. You got to be really doing some due diligence and understanding and have a good reason for pursuing that niche. And then from there, you got to make a list of prospects, right? You got to make a list of prospects, whether you use the 100,000 plus shipper list that I include in my Freight Broker Bootcamp, or whether you search on Google or you search on LinkedIn or ThomasNet or wherever. You need to make a list of prospects that you're going to reach out to. My recommendation is you take a multi-touch point outreach strategy, which is you don't only use phone, but you use email, you use social media, and use multi-channel approach. And that's what I teach in my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, which is part of the reason why I suggested everybody get on that wait list, because I am going to be releasing it soon. Again, if you guys want to get on the wait list, I had some emails or I had some messaging in here asking for that URL. If you want to get on the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator wait list, you got to go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. It's the only way you'll get a chance to enroll in that Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. So for you, Tatiana, at that point, once you make a list, you got to start doing outreach. This is where the hard work comes in. This is where, you're going to start getting some rejection. You got to go through this process. You got to learn the sales process. And it takes a little bit of time. But here's the thing. I'll give you an example. I interviewed a gentleman by the name of Mike Burke not long ago. He was a student of boot camp, didn't have any experience in logistics or transportation, decided to open his brokerage. And ultimately, he ended up within his first few months in the business, he made like no money. He couldn't get anybody to pay attention to him. And he was using LinkedIn a lot at that point. And all of a sudden, he got one shipper, and then one shipper turned into two shippers, and two shippers turned into four shippers, and four shippers, and went on and on and on. And by the end of his 6 month, he did over 30,000 in profit. But here's the thing. Most people would have never went that 3 months of getting all that rejection and not getting results, but he didn't give up. And so my hope for you, Tatiana, and everybody else that's in here, don't make 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 or even 500 sales calls and assume that based on those results, that's your future. Because the fact is, some people shoot out like a cannon. Some people get their client their first week, but that doesn't happen for everybody. And it didn't happen for Mike. It took him several months. But in that interview, he talks about, and you can watch it on YouTube, go to YouTube and search for the interviews that I do, and you'll see a bunch of interviews up there of past students. Some are doing millions a month, and some are doing millions a year, and some are doing, agents that are making 10,000 or more a month in profit, the whole gambit. But ultimately the key is, and he even talks about it in there, is that he didn't give up, and that, he didn't let the rejection get to him. And he went through that early stage startup pain, but now to the victors goes the spoils, because the last time I spoke to him, he made over 30,000 in a month. And I can guarantee it's probably way more than that now, because he was really aggressively growing that business. So I hope that helps, Tatiana. And if you want to get on the wait list, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. It's free to get on the wait list. The training is not free. It's a paid program. It'll be worth 10 times whatever you invest in it. I promise. And I don't even know what the price is going to be yet, because it's probably going to release in the next couple of weeks, and I'm putting all the final details together. All right. Okay. Tyshawn Lamar asks, can a freight broker use the same DOT number as their own trucks? I believe it is legal to use the same DOT number, but you'll have to have a different MC number. But most carriers that decide to start their freight brokerage set it up under a different LLC, a different DOT, and a different MC. And the reason being is because while I never own trucks, the feedback I've gotten from students and people in the community is that if you try to put your brokerage under the same corporation, under the same DOT, the insurance companies are going to jack up your cargo and liability insurance on the carrier side. So most carriers that decide to start a freight brokerage set up a separate LLC with a separate DOT and a separate MC and a separate everything, and then they run them. But they keep the name similar. So if your company's name is Tyshawn Trucking, okay, then you could have it be Tyshawn Trucking and Logistics, right? So it's very similar. So you can see that they're tied together, but they do separate them. So I hope that helps. And the reason being, again, I didn't own trucks. So this is all coming secondhand from students and people that have went through and they're a part of my community. I hope that helps. They do set up it separate. Yep. I just got some validation in the audience, in the comments, from people saying that happened to them too. Okay, so here's a question from the Hagad Institute. How do you make yourself different from the big guys? It seems as if all the shippers I contact say that we have a relationship with big guys. Many aren't doing their own shipping anymore. Any help? Okay, so all right, so your question is, how do you compete with big brokers? Okay, so here's how you compete with big brokers. This is what I did. I used to love when I ran into C.H. Robinson. I used to love when I ran into TQL. I used to love when I ran into big brokers, Alan Lund and all the big brokers. The reason being is because I took the strategy and the philosophy with my shippers, what I call big fish, small pond, small fish, big pond. Okay. So as a large broker, let's take C.H. Robinson, for example, the average shipper doesn't do the type of volume. Most of those big brokers are looking for shippers that are doing 5 million or more a year in freight spend. They want a large volume of freight spend is what they typically go after. And so that's their target. And with those big accounts, that's where they put their best talent, their best resources, their best tools, their best everything. because they want to grow and retain those large accounts because that's where they make their money. So their small accounts typically get brand new talent that's just been trained, or they don't get their best talent. They don't get their best carriers. They don't get their best resources. And therefore, they don't get the best service. And so my strategy was, would you rather be a small fish in a big pond, which is what they were with C.H. Robinson? They were a small fish in a big pond. Or would you rather work with me and be a big fish in a small pond? Because to you, if you give me 10 loads a month, you become a great client for me. But 10 loads a month with C.H. Robinson, you're not going to get their attention. So that's one strategy that I used, which was small fish, big pond, big fish, small pond. Most smaller shippers would rather be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond. Okay. I want you to understand that, number one. Number two, you do have to figure out a way to be different. Most cases, how larger brokers compete is they compete a lot of times just strictly on price because they're trying to do straight volume. And the problem with doing straight price is that you can't get the best trucks at the cheapest price. That's the reality. So focus more on value, focus more on service, focus more on that, because where you're going to get people's attention is when they've had service related issues or they've seen a significant increase in price recently. And so, those types of trigger events are what's going to open the door to new opportunities with shippers. So I hope that helps. I mean, I can't go into an entire training on it right now, but that's a couple of suggestions or ideas on how you can try to be a little bit different when trying to compete with the big boys. The other thing is I wouldn't go after the big accounts like Unilever and Coca-Cola and all the big accounts. I wouldn't focus on those, particularly as a startup. I would focus on the small to medium size accounts, companies that are doing, maybe $1 million in freight spend or $500,000, $1 million, not the large accounts that are doing 5 million plus. Hope that helps. Okay, guys, so that's going to wrap it up today. We did a lot of Q&A. I answered a lot of questions. We gave away a bunch of prizes. I showed you how to get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. If you guys are interested in getting on that wait list, I'm going to be launching that program hopefully in the next couple of weeks, definitely in November. And again, that's where it's a 5-week coaching program where I'm going to mentor and coach you by taking this piece of my brain about freight broker sales strategies, tactics, tools, and winning processes. And I'm going to share it with you and help you implement it into your business. And again, that's going to launch soon, but you have to be a part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator waitlist. In order to do that, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/waitlist. If you're not ready for that, or you're still early, then and you're curious about becoming a freight broker and you're trying to hobble information together from Google and Bing and YouTube, and you're trying to gather all this information and put it together and figure it all out, save yourself some time. Make a small investment in yourself. Invest in freightbrokerbootcamp.com. We have the most cost-effective, comprehensive online training program available, trained over 10,000 students. Yada, 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 yada. Okay, 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. I can't make it any easier for you. Okay, so check out Freight Broker Bootcamp if you're curious about becoming a freight broker or freight agent. If you're on YouTube, make sure you click the subscribe and the bell to make sure you get notified. If you're on Facebook, share the stream, and be back Monday, like every Monday, where I do a new Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. And we'll see you next week.